What's up, E.D.G family? Kevin here. Today I'm going to be doing a tasting, but I'm also going to be talking about gaming challenges. You know, the challenges that people come up with every year to figure out what they're going to play. I mean, some people will do, like myself, I've done for the past 3 years, I've done a 10 for 10 challenge, which is basically 10 games, 10 times in that year. But a lot of other people, you know, they do variations of that. I have not done a variation of that. I may eventually do a variation of that challenge, but a lot of people will do, you know, like 5x20s, you know, 20 games 5 times. Definitely seems maybe more up my alley. But I did just complete my first 10 for 10, and I want to talk about that a little bit. I want to talk about how I feel now that I have completed my first 10 for 10, and kind of talk about maybe why some of the 10 for 10s in the last couple years I didn't complete. But while we talk about that, I am going to be sipping on this, and this has got to be one of my favorite names for a craft brew so far. This is Frickin Hazer beams. So, you know, definitely reminds me of, you know, some spy movies, you know, whether they're comedies or even, you know, some of the more serious spy movies of the 60s. But yeah, no, this is great. This is by Roughtail Brewing. They're out of Oklahoma City. And I am excited for this one because this is kind of a pale ale that is brewed with the characteristics of more of a East Coast IPA, which I really like. But the fact that it's got like such a lower gravity as a pale ale, it's gonna not be, you know, quite so heavy, not so thick. It's gonna be much more drinkable, and I do enjoy myself a pale ale. So we're gonna be sipping on this. I'll be talking about that a little bit. But while we do that, I'm going to talk about my first gaming challenge, which was in 2020. So I track all of my plays generally on a spreadsheet. I also use you know, some apps, but this is kind of how I track my 10 for 10 every year. I do it in a spreadsheet form. And so in 2020, I had picked 10 games, which most of them were I was pretty acquainted with. Scythe being one of them I was definitely more acquainted with. Elder Sign, Too Many Bones, Cloud Spire, Zombie Kids, Pitch Car Mini, Planetoid, Sushi Go, Carcassonne, and Azul. So as you can tell, I did not complete it. I only got about 66% of the way through my first 10 for 10. And so there's some very obvious reasons maybe why I didn't complete some of these games. Elder Sign was a game that I like to play cooperative. I was never a huge fan to play solo, so it felt, you know, unless I was going to play that specific game with that specific person, you know, it was a great thought to play 10 times that year, but we kind of moved on from Elder Sign, which is why, like, Too Many Bones easily got its plays in. Scythe, curious one. For me, I think what happened with that one, looking back, is, you know, I got 7, but I might have realized at that point, in that point of the year, I wasn't going to complete this thing, so why force myself to play a game maybe that wasn't coming to the table as much for me at that time. I like this haze, I gotta say. I really, really like this haze. It's got a citrusy, but there's some coconut notes in there, and I like that. It's very, very, very subtle. But, you know, I'm getting some apricot. And it does have a thicker mouthfeel, you know, and I feel like you're going to get that with any kind of hazy beer. But going back to 2020, you know, Cloud Spire, you know, that's a heavy game. I got that to the table 10 times, which I probably got it more than that, if we're going to be completely honest. Any of these that I got 10 on, there's probably a couple of them I didn't get quite through. But I'm going to tell you, a couple of these, there wasn't a whole lot of reason for me not to complete them, other than maybe just the fact that I was getting a bunch of games in. And it was harder for me to get some of these to the table. Carcassonne, can't play that really by myself. You know, that was one that I was definitely group reliant on playing. And if it didn't get played with the group, it wasn't getting played. Azul the same way. I mean, we talked about that one on my coal list, and, you know, that's the exact reason why that one did not get its plays. But Carcassonne's a little different for me because I actually really, really like that game. and I will probably keep my copy even if it doesn't get played, because I always think there's probably going to be an opportunity at some point to get it to the table. My daughter, she might be up for something like that, maybe now. Just got to get it to the table, but it's definitely something she can handle. Planetoid, I don't really know why I didn't get one to the table. To be honest, it was my first Kickstarter I ever backed. I'll definitely probably do some coverage on that later at some point. But it's, I don't really know. I'm looking at that, and that's what I'm saying. First year, doing a 10 for 10. More excited the fact that I was doing for the 10 for 10 than maybe to actually complete it. But like games like Zombie Kids, easily, that was something me and my daughter were playing pretty heavy at the time, so it was easy to get that one done. But, maybe I'll do better the next year. And that's kind of what I thought going into the next one. I'll be more careful about which games I pick. I'll pick games that, if it's something that I want to play specifically with somebody else when I put it on there, make sure it's going to be, something that's getting played right now. Man, this is good. I don't know if I showed you that, but it's a good one. I will definitely, I'd recommend, especially for somebody that likes hops, but maybe not quite, a ton of hops. I like the haziness. It's always been my favorite part of the IPAs. Okay, let's talk about 2021. All right, so 2021, as you can see at the bottom, 78%. I believe that's 78%. 78%. I almost got there. I was a lot closer. But we got games like Aeon's End, which I could get a 10 for 10 done next year with Aeon's End. It's just so easy to get to the table, especially solo. And I do know a couple people that like to co-op with me on it, so I can definitely see that one, easily getting done. Cloudspire, completely different case. So you might be asking me why I put Cloudspire on my 10 for 10 the next year after I just completed it, or maybe you're not asking me that, but my logic behind that was I just picked up, you can't see them, the miniatures box for the Spires, and then I just picked up the fifth faction for it. So, I felt, I got new content for it. There's no reason I can't get this table 10 times. Makes sense. I didn't get a table 10 times because of the update pack. I had made a decision to shelf it until I got the update pack in. And I didn't even get the update pack in 2021. I got it early last year. And since then, I obviously didn't put it on my 10 for 10 in 2022, but I did get a table 10 times when I got the update pack in, so I kind of made up for it. Dice Throne, that was an easy one for me. Dice Throne Adventures had just came in pretty early in 2021, and it was easy for me to get it to the table, even by myself, because I didn't have to worry about, somebody wanting to play Dice Throne. It's honestly my preferred way to play it. I play it with my family. I play Dice Throne Adventures, so super, super easy one to get. Flip Ships, I'm pretty sure that was a holiday gift in 2020. So it was really easy for me to also get that one. I like Flip Ships quite a bit. If you haven't checked out my Dexterity video, it's on there. I like it. Funkoverse, so here we go. This is when we pick games that are pretty hot with your kid at the time, trying to get it on your 10 for 10, and then it quickly fizzles out. It's just 2021. I'm pretty sure my 7-year-old and I played quite a few games, but that was one that I felt like she liked the idea of playing with, the Funkoverse characters, but she I don't think she really liked the game. She didn't really get it. Dice Throne way more up her speed. Funkoverse with the track and everything. It was one of those games where it's probably a good thing she didn't get super into it, because I probably would have went and bought like 2 or 3 more packs, and then she would have lost out on it. She would have lost interest in it. So I'm glad, it's one of those ones that I'm holding on to see if it comes back, especially as she gets older. But I don't know. Let's talk about Ghostbusters. Same kind of thing. It was a holiday game. I really enjoyed it. So the Ghostbusters game is the Protect the Grid. I believe that's right. No, Protect the Barrier. And it is actually molded off of a little bit pricier of a game. And I don't know if it would have necessarily made a difference with her. but it's like ghost fighting treasure hunters. It's something like that. I don't think I'm saying it completely right, but it's pretty much the same game in a Ghostbusters theme, a little bit cheaper, and she actually kind of liked the Ghostbusters at a younger age, so she actually dressed up as a Ghostbuster for Halloween. So it was one of those ones that I think it was really just the mechanics of the game that she kind of got bored with too quickly. And so, yeah, it was hard to get the last 5 plays of that in. And then let's look. Oh, the only other one, Zombicide Invader. Similar case with Zombicide Invader. My biggest issue with it was really just getting it tabled. At the time, I didn't have a great place to game, mainly just on the kitchen table. And it can be a rather large game to set up. So the opportunities of getting the space needed to play Zombicide Invader was hard. But since then, I did pick up the Black Ops expansion for Invader, and it got I think I tabled that to like 10 times in 2022. So not a game I dislike. It was harder to get to the table, and then you see other games like Funkoverse not getting played, and then like Cloud Spider-Man shelved. It makes it really easy to give up on completing some of these. If that's something that you've experienced completing your 10 for 10s, let me know. I mean, because that's I actually think when I picked my games for 2022, I might have had a lot more of that in mind. But I've always kind of had the philosophy on these challenges, they should be at least a slight challenge. And, you know, having maybe like 5 games that you just want to get to the table, you want to make sure they get 10 plays on there, and then picking 10 games that you're like, these need plays. But the problem is with that mentality, and that's kind of what it showed on these 2 years, is if they need plays, they're probably not ones that you're going to be able to complete as easily. You know, they're already struggling for plays. How are you going to play in 10 times? I don't know, past Kevin. That's a hard decision. And it just didn't happen for me. Fortunately, this story will have a happy conclusion, and that will be this year, 2022. The year I start doing content and somehow still complete my 10 for 10. So 10, there we go. 100%. And a lot of these games on here were games that I had, but they hadn't actually been opened. They hadn't been unboxed. They hadn't hit the table. Games that ended up being on my top 10 of 2022. I don't really necessarily want to name them all. But there was a lot of games that I didn't have unboxed, or I knew they were coming in and I was like, I'm adding it to my 10 for 10 because I know I can get this played. Like Tiny Epic Dungeons. It actually wasn't in when I think I actually created the list, but I knew it was like gonna fulfill in like a week or two. So I was like, yeah, let's add it. Plus it should have been on my shelf in 2021. It should have. But you know, you can't blame publishers for your 10 for 10. But no, so we get this done. And it's great. Like, I got Dune Imperium the year before. It was easy to get to there. The Crew was actually one of the harder ones because you can't solo it. But my daughter does kind of like the Crew, and so I think sometime early December, I'm looking at my 10 for 10 trying to get complete, and I'm like, hey, girls, I need 5 plays of the Crew. And they were like, okay, we can do that. I was like, okay, perfect. And it happened. So I think the other time I played it was like 5 plays. So game doesn't take up very much space. So I'm not really too worried about not getting played inconsistently. But like Aquatica, that was a game I had, but I hadn't actually unboxed, hadn't played, and it was easy to get a ton of plays cranked out on that real quick, not even trying. Isle of Cats, you know, I just got the Boats expansion, you know, that's what, I don't know if you can see it, the big box back here, Boats expansion, Beast expansion, so, you know, that was easy. It was an easy one to get 10 plays, even though I had the game for almost a year before that. Power Rangers is a game that in 2021 blew up. So I was like, hey, if I can't get 10 plays of Heroes of the Grid this year, like, maybe this game fizzled out for me already. And it didn't. I it was one of those games that I did more than 10. What else we got on here? Tidal Blades. Tidal Blades is interesting because that was not a game I would have played 10 times. That was one of those games that I feel like is the perfect choice for a 10 for 10. A game that, you know, I got it the year before. I liked it. It got 10 or so plays. But, you know, and I wanted to play it more. So that's why I got added. But it's also one of those games that by the last one, I was like, Man, I'm gonna have to let this sit for a minute, you know. Not that I'm not gonna play it again, because Tidal Blades 2 comes in right when I get my shipping notice. I will probably hit that and go, hey, let's get that to the table. But to wrap this up, I mean, we're looking at like Wingspan, got that the year before. Easy get to the table. Warp's Edge, same situation as Aquatica. Hadn't actually got it to the table. So, you know, I wouldn't actually call it, a lot of people would refer to these games that you have that sit for a minute as, well, some of them will call them opportunities. Other people will say they're shame games. Those were kind of neither for me. They were planned to sit. They were games that I bought knowing I had, you know, maybe Kickstarter content coming in, and I just wanted to wait. I didn't think the opportunity at that time was right to get a game out that wasn't going to get as much attention as it would. So that's another great, you know, a great use of these gaming challenges. So let me know if you do a top 10 every year. You're one of those people that do like 20 top 10s, because I see you guys out there. Or if you're just somebody like me that kind of dabbles with the gaming challenge. So now that we've talked about my 10 for 10, I'm going to talk about maybe why I'm not going to do a 10 for 10 this year. I actually had a collection of games picked out for my 10 for 10. And then I realized, as you know, the last couple games are finally crossing the finish line, that having this extra burden when I maybe want to play something else, you know, it's always in the back of my mind, hey, you got to get that. You're not going to get done. It maybe keeps something else off the table. Or, you know, you're thinking about that, and now you thought about it so much that now you don't even want to play it. I don't know. That's just the thoughts I had as I was trying to wrap this up. So, you know, doing this new content creation, I kind of thought, you know, let's take a year off. Even though I already had games picked that I probably could have easily completed, you know, maybe this was a year to just, hey, I've done the challenge, and let's think about a challenge for next year. And, you know, I think as far as challenges go, I think they have to make sense for you. Like right now, a challenge that would make sense for me is play every game in my modest collection. You know, play every game once this year. If you can't, are you going to be able to play it next year? Are you keeping it for a different reason than getting played? And, you know, those are the kind of the questions you have to ask yourself, especially when I consider that I have a tuned, very choice collection of games that probably won't be this modest maybe come this time next year. So it's just something to think about. Other things, you know, other gaming challenges could be, you know, a lot of people will pick games that didn't get played last year. I could create a 10 by 1. A 10 by 1, and maybe that's what I'll do. I will create a 10 by 1 and pick games that I didn't get played last year. And if you can't complete the 10 by 1, maybe you got to think about why you have that game. And maybe that's kind of what I should use a gaming challenge for. I don't know. Let me know what you think. I mean, like I said, do you do this 10 for 10? Do you do something else? I don't know. But I think that's going to wrap it up for me. I'm going to finish this guy. Maybe figure out my 10 by 1. And maybe figure out what game I'm going to get to the table. Shouldn't have to pick. I got quite a few good ones. Shouldn't be a hard decision. But thanks for tuning in. If you followed me up until here, think about subscribing. Give me a like. And I will see you guys on the next one. Much love.